Live.
Okay.
We're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be, and welcome to the overnight. I am DM Foss, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, Bert. How you doing, Bert?
Good. Doing pretty good. Been better. Been a lot worse. So,
Well, as long as you're above the dirt, you're doing pretty good.
unless you're just about to be in the dirt, then it sucks.
First off, I'd like to say congratulations to the winners of the giveaway, the 300 sub giveaway. Um,
That was me, right? I won all of them?
no,
Ah, damn.
the two winners of the patches and stickers and whatever else was New York Outcast and who was the other one? Oh, Andrew Carmichael was the other one. And then the winner of the grand prize, the plate carrier, was Tactical Maverick.
Congratulations, everyone.
I'm going to wait. G23 said he wants to throw in some stickers or patches or something. So as soon as I get some stuff from him, then I can get everything mailed out to everyone. Hopefully next weekish. But I just need to get addresses from Maverick and from Andrew Carmichael. I've got Rob D, New York Outcast. So I'll try and get stuff shipped out here pretty soon, as soon as I can. I don't like to wait on stuff like that. But congrats to you guys, and thanks for subbing, and thanks to everyone else who participated. There were 25 people that participated, so they had pretty good odds.
That's really good odds.
Yeah. That's the thing. The guys that you see that win all the time, it's because they participate. Not a lot
It's
of
like
people
1 in
do.
7.
But congrats and thank you. So first, I guess we should talk about Biden and his press conference, where he had announced his. They weren't. What do you call them?
They weren't executive orders, they were
Yeah, they weren't
executive actions.
executive actions. So basically, instead of saying "I'm going to do this," most of it was
Can you
saying
please
somebody
look
should
into
do
this?
something.
Please help someone.
So I watched the press conference. I watched his part of the press conference. I didn't watch anybody else's part.
Yeah, Merrick Garland.
Yeah, and I kind of took 7 things out of what he said, and figured we'll cover them, go through them. And I put in the description. There's a link to a transcript of his speech. So if you want to go through and read it, then you can. Oh, well, real quick, while we've got X Adam 1, something that I told him I would do, and I forgot, and then forgot again, and forgot again. He sent pictures of his Rough Riders. He's got a
Very
barkeep
nice.
and then the really long one. And it's as big as it's going to let me make it. But he's got, he calls them his matching pair. He's got the Joker handles. Pretty nice little guns. I didn't really like the barkeep when they first came out. But kind of the more that I see them, it's kind of growing on me. I
What is that,
understand the
a
concept.
2-inch barrel?
Yeah, something like that. I understand the concept of that little barrel, for being in a vest pocket for a barkeep, something like that. And then the big overcompensating Joker barrel, because that'll
Yeah,
make
you can't wear shorts with that one.
well, is that too long? Is the 22 going to make it out of the barrel, or is it just kind of boop
Yeah, I don't know. In a revolver, it would in a
pop out the end?
rifle. But I always wanted one of those North American Arms mini revolvers.
Oh yeah, yeah, like the little pug. They're neat. Um, I don't know. It would be low on my list.
That's why I
But
don't have one.
but I had told him, and then I felt bad because I forgot a couple times. So um, I apologize, and just wanted to make sure I didn't forget tonight. And if anyone else has wants to submit some gun pictures, we can look at later. I will put the email out here.
Make sure you show your serial number so we can jot that down.
But so if you send something, make sure you put who you are in the or in your email, so I know. That way, if your email is different than your YouTube name, I know who to credit it to.
Any submissions without usernames, I will take full ownership of. Those are all mine.
The Guns Barbecue says the Barkeep is his favorite single action 22 to Schlott.
I feel like all 22 revolvers should be single action because how bad the double action pull on them is.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever shot a 22 revolver.
The autoloaders are a lot better, in my opinion. Funner. But if you want to shoot a revolver, it's the cheapest way to do it.
Yeah. But okay, back to our main subject.
Yeah, we pulled a Joe Biden, went on a tangent.
Well, I completed the thought, so it's a little better. But so for what he said in his press conference, he wanted immediate action. The first thing he talked about was to see ghost guns treated as firearms. And that's going to be, you would have to
Basically impossible.
you'd have to reclassify what a firearm is in order to do that, which I don't see how you do that. Otherwise, like a block of aluminum is not a AR-15 lower, but you can turn it into an AR-15 lower, and they sell
100%.
100% lowers where it's a block of aluminum. But I can go down to a welding shop and buy a block of aluminum. So it seemed a lot of what he said that we're going to cover was just repeating the same things that he said, when he was running for president. Not stuff that you can do, just stuff to make his base happy. And that's kind of how I thought this press conference was.
Yeah, I've got some experience making quote unquote ghost guns, and they're definitely not firearms, and they do take a lot of effort. Some less than others, but The only way I can see them doing this is those buy, build, shoot kits where
Yeah.
they give you the 80% and they give you every single part for the gun, like the barrel, the slide, all the lower parts, firing pin, everything. And then they give you all the tooling.
Well, that's
That might, because they've already rated that one place over that and got the list of names of everyone that bought it.
well,
I could
that's
see
the
them
stupid
doing
thing.
that, but
They rated that whole to do was over because everything was included, but you can still buy everything separately.
yeah.
What's the difference other than
Well, they do like
whatever
to
the
talk
shipping
about
time is?
intent a lot. And I think that's what they're going after is if you buy everything in this one kit, it's basically there's no other intent than building that gun, is what I think their rationale is. I don't like it, but
Well, still, your intent is to build a gun. You're buying at 80%. You're gonna. I don't know. It's drives me nuts. It's the same with ARs. In Washington, there's an additional 10-day wait on a semi-automatic rifle because it's considered all semi-automatic rifles are considered assault rifles. But I can buy all the parts and leave with them in a bag the same day, and then go home and put one together.
shh, don't tell them that. Don't let them
Sorry.
know. Next year on the ballot.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. The only thing I can compare it to was like when they were cracking down on people making meth, and they'd only let you buy certain ingredients that you would need at a store.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like if you went there and you bought every single ingredient that you needed to make meth and nothing else.
Well, the big thing was people buying, like 10 packs of ephedrine
Yeah.
or, the cold medicine. But
So
now it's so easy to do that there's people been caught walking around Walmart making meth because you can do it in one bottle and steal pretty much everything from Walmart.
but let's do a hypothetical. You know those buy build shoot kits?
Yeah.
Let's say somebody bought 100 of them. Should that raise a red flag? As far as the ATF?
Should it? No. Will it?
But I mean, like,
Maybe.
if you worked for the ATF and your job was to crack down on quote unquote criminals getting guns,
Yeah.
and somebody bought 100 buy build shoot kits, chances are they're not using them for themselves, they're selling them. I'm not defending it, but I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, then they would. I get your point. They're looking at it as somebody basically becoming a firearms dealer.
Yeah, manufacturing.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure
Because don't they
how
they do the same thing if you buy multiple guns? How many is it? You buy a bunch of guns within a week.
two.
You get
If you buy two within a 5-day period,
oh
then
shit!
it has to
I'm
be
on a lot of
reported.
lists.
Yeah.
That's not good. I've done that like 10 times at least.
I don't think I have. I've bought one and then waited for the background check and then bought one when I went back, but that's usually, just over the 5 days. I don't think I've bought two at any one time. But that they would have to be reclassified, and so that brings in like with the bump stocks where the ATF was told, no, you cannot reclassify this because it doesn't match the definition. So that I would think that holds precedent over reclassifying other stuff. But I'm not. I don't know. I'm not that smart. I'm not that educated.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
I
I don't
expect
think that'll
them
go
to.
anywhere.
I expect them to do something about that, but I could be wrong. But they said they're going to.
Yeah. And second thing he talked about was the yearly report on firearms trafficking, which, okay, um, they kind of already. I don't. It's not maybe yearly now, but they do reports. But it's. I don't know how big other than stuff going to Mexico, because drugs come up here and then guns go back down there. Um, other
I
than
wonder if
that,
any
it's
go up to Canada.
probably.
I mean, they bring weed down from Canada. You'd think we could bring drugs up, but that's just theoretical.
I don't know. It's a lot easier to walk into Canada. Well,
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
Not speaking from experience, of course.
There's no wall up there. There is a minefield, so though, somewhere up there around, not Leavenworth. God. So I had a girlfriend that she told me her and her dad were hiking up around the border, and they came up on a sign that said there was a minefield, and it was like right on the border. But I'm can't think of the town where that was. But yeah, it's not important. So um,
What's a repoet?
G Webs is saying the crime report is a major element. Um, I I know I heard him talking about it the other day, and I can't remember uh, what the point was. But it's not. I mean, that's something he can do is tell them to do a firearms trafficking report, but
Yeah,
I'm not
theoretically,
sure.
they got all that info anyway. Just got to pump it out.
And yeah, so I don't see that as a big thing. It just depends on how they're going to use the information and what the information says. So I've never looked at the report, so I'm not sure um, what they are. Um, just hard data. This is going from here to here, or we've got this many people doing this and that. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, G Webs is saying that the cops are saying it's been needed for a while. That's fine. Then he talked about the pistol braces, and the context I got was he was talking about pistol braces on handguns, where they make firearms more lethal, which firearms are lethal, so they make you more dead, and basically turning a pistol into an SBR. And the way he framed what he was saying was it really seemed like he's talking about um, handguns instead of like pistol ARs or AKs. I don't know if that was intentional or if he just
Yeah.
didn't really know what he's talking about, and
He
those are
might
the
be
talking
talking
points.
about those those Glock
Oh, the
micro
micro
Roni
Ronies.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
that, that could be.
I wouldn't
Um,
say they make them more lethal, but they do make them more usable.
well, he also said more accurate, which,
Technically, they make you more accurate, not the gun,
well,
because you.
yeah, but it's to me it's kind of a weak argument because you know if a good shooter can shoot well and an okay shooter, the brace will help them shoot better, maybe. But you know,
If you're disabled, it definitely makes you more accurate.
yeah, that's true.
That's
But
the whole point of it.
but the majority of them aren't going to disabled people. Um,
What? Are you kidding? Who would do that? That's like buying up all the wheelchairs, right? Raise the price.
yeah. Um, so that's that's one to are they going to reclassify the braces? You know, to try and say anything with a brace is an SBR, or these firearms with a brace is an SBR. Um,
I think they'll publish that paper they're going to publish. It'll tell you the criteria to where
yeah, if
if you put the brace on this gun with this configuration, then it's
and
no longer a pistol.
if they do publish that, that paper didn't change anything. It
Yeah,
just laid out what the rules already were,
it
and
lets
I
you
think that
know that they would consider you having an SBR as
yeah,
opposed to us just thinking we don't.
I think that's what people didn't understand. I mean, I thought it was good that a lot of people stood up, but the intent of the paper wasn't to change anything. It was just to quantify what the rules were.
Yeah, I
That
would have
it
rather
was a
had the
response
paper.
to a specific company.
I would have rather had them do the paper and then fight what the paper said instead of us not knowing what is going on. We don't know what to fight.
Yeah. So that's and that he said he wants the ATF to look into it. So that's you know another somebody should do something. Not this is what we're gonna do. Um, and he also talked about red flag laws, where he wants to create a national model for the states to follow, and then incentivize the states to enact them. And that's one that can happen. And there are already laws on the books that cover everything a red flag will, but requires don't want to say due justice. That's not quite what I'm thinking, but
Due process.
due process. Thank you. Um, which
Yeah, you
when
can't
they talk
deprive
about
somebody of their um, property or their liberty without due process.
and when he talked about red flag laws, he talked about going to the court and a judge looking at this. But I should have looked specifically um, at what those say compared to what already is on the books, which I didn't do. Now that I
And
think
we
about it,
have those in Washington,
we
a red
do,
flag law.
we
Yeah.
do, and it makes it easier for anyone to red flag anyone for any reason. Is the way I see it.
Luckily, I haven't heard about it being abused yet.
No, the only one I heard about was the lady that tried to do it on a cop that killed her
Oh,
son.
yeah.
Um, I forget what exactly the
Shouldn't laugh, but yeah, I
case
remember
was.
that.
And that didn't, as far as I know, that didn't go anywhere. I didn't hear anything more about it.
But I think this is actually side effect of 9/11 with the Patriot Act and the what do you call those? I forgot the name. It's been 19 years, but the warrants they put out on people, the secret,
the FISA warrants.
yeah, it's basically that, but for gun owners.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's I see it as a due process problem. They're coming for guns right now with that, but they could do the same thing and use this, be like, oh, we already have red flag laws.
Well, that's what
It's just
I think.
it's making it normal.
I don't know if it was Yankee. It was the same chat G Webs was on, but they were talking. Somebody was talking about cops having the power to red flag somebody, which that
Yeah, that was
should
the
not.
Shooting Left of Center podcast
Okay,
from this last week. It was
that's
a good episode. Go watch that.
I did watch it. I just don't remember.
No, I meant the audience.
Oh,
It was good to see that show come back. Feels like it's been a while.
yeah. I think partly just Yankee forgets.
He's getting old.
So that's one where I think has a good chance of happening for states, especially incentivizing states, giving them money to do this, because that's what state governments like is money from the government, from the federal government. It's very few times that I've heard where a state will refuse money. It has happened, but it's rare. And then he announced the nomination of David Chipman for ATF director. David Chipman is an advisor to the
Giffords.
the Gifford anti-gun group, and I could see him trying to push a lot of anti-gun stuff while in the ATF, trying to reclassify stuff. Just from some of the statements that I've read that he said.
Yeah, and he is retired ATF.
Yeah, he was at Waco, and some people have said Ruby Ridge, but I didn't see anything to confirm that. I didn't look very deep.
And I thought Ruby Ridge was the FBI that botched that, not ATF. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure, but they were probably both there. But I think they could sink, the Republicans could sink his nomination just by, if that picture of him is him standing on the rubble of Waco, the Branch Davidian compound, and standing in the ashes taking a picture. And then he also made a statement that two helicopters were shot down by Branch Davidians with 50 caliber guns, which didn't happen.
I actually looked into that. And there is a congressional report or a House report on Waco, and it says that they did shoot 3 helicopters, National Guard ones. They didn't shoot them down, but they shot them, and it did damage the helicopters, but no one was hurt.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I looked a little bit.
I can understand where that comes from.
Yeah, and the article I read talked about where he had said it, and I forget where he had said that, and then what he had said. So there might have been more context to the statement that I didn't see.
No, he was wrong, but I can see where he got the idea.
Yeah, but that's why when if I post links and stuff, I try and get the source material so that anybody that goes back and looks you can see exactly what they said, or an official report. Um, that way, it's not somebody else's interpretation or misinterpretation of something that was said or happened. Um, and that I can't always do that because I can't always find it. But I always try to. That's the link that I posted for this speech is from the White House, so it's the official transcript.
Yeah, I just posted the Waco report. If anyone
Oh,
wants to
I
check
think
that out. And of course, they could have been lying, but he worked for the government, so he's just repeating what the government said, but he was a little wrong.
that's possible. Taking if they were shot and were forced to land, then maybe considering that being shot down. But like I said, I don't know. I didn't see.
We need a new topic. I just keep defending the ATF. This isn't going to look good.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You know,
It's just
that
like
way.
Seinfeld. There's nothing wrong
Um,
with that.
what's going on? Um, I don't want to just spout a point of view, especially if there's, if something needs to be corrected. I'm fine with it being corrected. I want to, you know, I'd rather be right than just, my opinion. What I think. So if don't be afraid to
Yeah,
correct me on
context is
anything.
always good.
So we'll see. He still needs to go through hearings and stuff. Needs 51 votes. See what happens. Um, and Biden talked about the Charleston loophole and the 3-day wait, where if the background check isn't done within 3 days, then you get to proceed. Well, that's not a loophole. That keeps the government from a de facto gun ban,
Yeah.
where they prolong the process to where you don't get to buy a handgun. Um, Not because you're disqualified, just because they don't want you to have it, and that's what that waiting period, the limit on the waiting period does. Says you have this much time, get it done, or else your time's up. They get their property.
And the funny thing is, it's actually down to the gun store because they don't have to give you the gun after the 3 days were up. I've had them delay me like 2 weeks.
I had that happen with Cabela's,
Yeah, it happened with
where
Sportsman's for me, so similar.
they it went 3-4 weeks. I called the police department, and they said all the paperwork from that time period was already processed. I called Cabela's, and they said they have to wait for the paperwork. And they refused to even look at the paperwork. So I told them to keep their gun. I don't want it. And the gun shop I deal with, they go by, you know, I forget what the wait period is, but for Washington. But once the wait period's up, I can go pick it up, and that legally they can do that.
That's the funny thing. This was before our universal background check law, and I was buying the gun because I was taking a training course, and I needed the gun, and I just ended up buying one privately because it took too long. It's like, this is so stupid.
Yeah, you can't do that now.
Yeah, not legally.
All purchases have to go through a background check now, even private sales.
And he did mention that, didn't he? He wants to do universal background checks. Wasn't that one of the bullet points?
Yeah. I didn't take notes on it.
Well, if it wasn't one of the main points, he definitely implied that every gun sold in this country should go through a background check. That was probably part of his ghost gun thing.
Yeah, it was either there or around the Charleston loophole part.
He was
Um,
asking for Congress to pass, or no, he was asking for the Senate to pass what Congress had already passed, the House.
G-Web's saying the 3-day window was added to the law when it was being written. Um, the loophole label is manipulated to remove the aspect after the fact to create a real loophole where the NICS can stop answering phones.
Yeah, the key word in NICS is instant, National Instant Criminal Background Check System. It's not supposed to take 3 days. It should be immediate.
Yeah, before 1639, it pretty much was. And then the FBI told Washington State, we're no longer going to process the NICS for you. We were doing it as a courtesy. You're on your own. So now it's down to whatever your local law agency is, whether it's the sheriff or um, police. Mine goes through since I'm in the town, it goes through the police. If I was in the country, it would go through the county. But it's it's a small town, so usually it's 4, maybe 5 days at the most. I had a couple that timed out, but that was during um, kind of early on in the COVID when everything was shut down.
Yeah, stuff wasn't getting done right.
Um,
I went to get my concealed weapons permit renewed because it had expired. And like the wait period was like 5 months backlog. It's like, jeez.
yeah, when I went to get mine a few years ago, filling out the paperwork, and then I noticed there was a section, are you renewing? Something about renewing. So I asked her, hey, I had one 20 years ago. Am I renewing it? She goes, no, you're not. And then kind of the last point, gun manufacturers have immunity from lawsuits, which is not exactly true. And
Yeah, it's a half truth.
he compared it to tobacco companies, where the tobacco companies knew their product caused cancer and still sold it to people. Well, that's not why he wants the gun manufacturers to be able to be sued. You can be sued. They can be sued if it's a faulty, if there's a fault in the gun that causes an injury. They can't be sued if I buy a gun and then I go shoot Bert. That's
Yeah.
not their fault.
You buy a Kimber and it blows up in your face. You can sue the shit out of them if you weren't using like a reloaded ammo that you made yourself. But what he wants is like if I sued the tobacco company because my dad used to put cigarettes out on me. That's what this is. Be like, no, I should sue my dad.
I put one out in my hand one time because we're up in Canada, and we were drinking, and I always, usually will order a water right away and drink water. That way you don't get dehydrated and you don't get a hangover. And one of the guys, I didn't know the guy that was with us, and he was mouthing off all the night because I was doing that. So I took my cigarette and I put it out in my palm and I stared at him and he shut up. And then he pretty much got alcohol poisoning, and we had to drag him home the next day with his head in a bucket crossing the border. But I guess that's off topic.
I've done
but
the
yeah,
put out on your tongue thing. That's fun.
yeah, that's okay. So yeah, it's a framing that argument um, incorrectly, and I believe purposely. Like with the loophole and he did talk about online gun sales a little bit, where you can just order a gun online, and then private sales where there's no background check. He didn't say there weren't background checks for online sales, but he grouped it in with private sales in as he was talking to make it sound like there's
Gun
no background
shows.
checks. Yeah, and, which
See,
is BS.
technically, he's right. If you have an FFL license, there's no background check. But
Yeah.
for
So
the rest of us,
you order a gun, it gets shipped to an FFL, and they do a background check. Um, it doesn't get shipped right to you, and then private sales. It depends on the state. Our state you do, some states you don't. You didn't used to up until 86. Was it 86? I think.
I don't
Um,
know.
I think it was around the mid 80s, and now you have to. But if you had one, especially an older gun, who knows when it was bought and transferred to you? Was it before 86? Was it after 86? Oh,
Imagine guns that don't even have serial numbers.
good
When was
lord.
this made? Maybe it's an old Colt prototype from the 60s. Who knows?
So kind of that's the way I saw his whole speech was, kind of half truths and misrepresentations. When he starts out by saying no amendment, what did he say exactly? Um, God, now I can't think of it. Um,
No constitutional amendment is absolute.
yeah, that's yeah, and then brought up that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
Crowded theater. What about an empty
So
theater?
if there's a fire, you write down fire and hand it to everyone to let them know
Yeah.
there's a fire. You can yell fire, um, and there's consequences if it's not a fire. Um, it's it's not free speech because free speech deals with the government. Government can't tell you not to say it. Um, but if you yell fire in the theater can kick you out. But, just the whole way he framed all the arguments. Like I said, but
It was all
misleading.
surface level.
Yeah, and then for the most part was just lip service. This is what should be done, but 90% of it, there's nothing they can do really change. Some of it maybe like the red flag laws, and then the yearly report. Yeah, do it more often. I don't know, but
Yeah, I
so
see them doing the ghost gun, buy, build, shoot things. I think those are going to be gone. You're going to have to buy the stuff individually, is my guess. Best way to do it is buy it at a gun store with cash.
that's what I've only bought two guns that weren't cash. One was the CHP gun because the only way I could get it was to order it, and then the other one was partial because I didn't have quite enough on me, so I paid part of it with a credit card. But I prefer to pay cash. There's less paperwork, less paper trail. Um, which for Washington State, Um, if you get pulled over, they can see that you have guns. They don't know exactly what model, but they know you have like a Browning or something like. I can't remember exactly what it shows, but it shows, um, and it'll show if you have a silencer, a suppressor. Um, it might not show exactly what you have, but it will show that you have something. It might come up as a Form 1, Form 3, something like that. But I
Which is
have,
funny. Cops should just assume that everyone could have a gun, in my mind.
yeah,
Because, like, they
I
pull someone over and it says they don't have a gun. That doesn't mean they don't have a gun. It just means they didn't buy one from an FFL.
I work with a guy that he used to be law enforcement, and his wife is still a dispatcher, and she'll run him every so often just to see what he bought, to see if he bought something new.
Wonder if that's legal.
So I know something. There's not technically there's not a list because they're not supposed to keep a list on you, but they can see that you bought something because there's a list.
I do know that every single handgun you buy in Washington State, they do have a list of. Because we do have a handgun registry, technically.
Yeah. Um,
I'm not sure how extensive it is when you get pulled over and they pull up your info.
yeah, I think it's just generalized from what he was saying, but not specifically. Like a H&K P30 and 9mm or 40 or but just may show an H&K or something like that. So X Adam 1 sent in another picture. Take me a second here to find it and move it. There it is. And it's upside down. So
Well, if you're watching on your phone, just flip your phone.
Take me just a second to flip it around and then show it.
I bet he did that on purpose.
Well, I don't know if he sent it. Sometimes my email will flip pictures upside down. I don't know why. There we go. Let's try this again. Ooh. He got a little Browning.
Is this one of their 22s?
Made in Belgium.
That's like a 32 or something.
Looks like it. Oh, those little mouse guns are neat, I think.
Looks like you'd have a hard time sticking your finger in the trigger. That thing is tiny.
He said, I need someone to help him rescue this from Oklahoma.
No, he probably couldn't do a out of state purchase for a handgun.
Oh, yeah. That'd be cool to have.
So you have your buddy in Oklahoma buy it, send it to your FFL in Texas, and then you pick it up.
G-Web
25
says
ACP.
25 ACP. He knows his tiny guns.
Yeah.
He wrote a book on it.
He did. I was actually thinking, we could do this, make it a weekly thing. Look at pictures. Or bi-weekly. Or is it bi-monthly?
Bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly. Brain's not working. That's why I'm defending the ATF.
Maybe you're sus,
Oh yeah.
as the kids would say. So let's get into. There we go. It's going to talk a little bit about not. I will technically, I guess it would be prepping, but not end of the world zombie apocalypse prepping.
Common sense.
Yeah, more than the government says you should have at least 3 days supplies in case something happens. And I think most people already have that. Just what's in your fridge. If you have a pantry, what's in your pantry? Most people will have 3 days worth of food and whatever they need, and then water. If you have bottled water or whatnot. But what happens if you have to go a week or 2 weeks? Something just long enough, kind of like we saw with when we went from riots to COVID, and where there was a strain on the system and store shelves went empty.
Oh yeah.
So and
Everything's
that
sold out
happens.
online.
That happens when there's bad weather, and different. We see that in different parts of the country. So what do you need to have? What should you have for that? Where it's just a little bit, but not forever. We're not forever prepping. And I've got now here, this section here is kind of that mid to getting into more long term, where I've got water down here on the bottom. I don't know if you can see my cursor moving.
We can. Yeah, we can see it.
And then this tub here, and then there's 2 buckets here. It's all freeze dried food. Where it, I think right here is at least 3 weeks, if not 4 weeks, food and water. And this is about 4 feet across, and up to this beam, the top beam up here is about 6 foot. So it's about the size of a closet. So, if you've got an apartment or a small house, there's, you can probably find room to hold. And this is longer than a week's worth. These clear tubs are not, that's just regular storage wires and rope and whatnot. But so for like a week's worth, you could probably fit in 2 of these shelves, if not just 1 shelf. And a lot of people might not have that because, when things are great, they're great. But when things stop being great, that's when there's a problem.
Yeah.
And you see people like with, you can look at the ammo stuff where people stock up when there's trouble and then stop stocking up after the trouble's gone. Same with like the toilet paper. I've got a little bit of extra up here. People panicked. I would see people come into the store panicked because they couldn't get toilet paper. And then once stuff started normalizing, a lot of people, they didn't stock up afterwards, where they had a little bit of extra. And that's just what we're talking about, is a little bit of extra, not stocking up for the Red Dawn.
Yeah, people were selling single rolls on eBay.
So the water is the big thing. You need water. You can go longer without food, but you need water. So if you've got,
that's what takes up the most room.
Well, even right here, these 2 shelves, and then this little bit right here, that's 67 gallons of water right there. The bottom darker blue bins, The blue tubs, those are 5 gallon, and then these are, can't remember if they're 2.5 or 3 gallon. I needed smaller ones so my wife could move them around if she had
Yeah,
to.
that's really important.
And then I've got some bigger ones just for more storage.
What is
Because
it
it gets,
like? Almost 9 pounds per gallon.
yeah, it's 8.5, something like that. I totaled up how much weight is here, and I can't remember what it was. That's, if you have like an apartment, that's something to consider. Is, don't put all that weight in one spot, because that's a lot of weight. But just in this little spot, you can fit quite a bit. And if you've got a pantry, just buy a little bit extra what you already eat, and then rotate it. That way, you're not worried about freeze dried. I've got the freeze dried because that's, everything is starting to go south. Um, Emergency stuff, you know. But we've got a stock pantry, um, and you just buy stuff that you normally eat. That way, you're not buying, canned beets that you're not going to eat, and then they spoil,
Yeah,
and you're just wasting money and wasting space.
freeze dried will last like 25 years. Some of it. That stuff lasts forever.
Yeah, the is it Mountain House? I think Mountain
Yeah,
House
that's what I
now
buy.
guarantees for 20 years, 25 years, all their stuff.
Yeah, you buy the big
Um,
old can. And they
yeah,
have
that's
like
what.
10 to 12 servings per can.
There's a couple cans in here in that tub.
One thing to remember, though, is if you're buying freeze dried, you need to use water to make them edible.
Yeah, that's one thing when I first bought them that I didn't really think about until after I started buying it. That you need that water for there, and they say a gallon per person per day. Uh, Probably a little more than that is better, you know. But at least a gallon per person per day, and then don't forget your pets. I keep extra food. Um, Basically, I'll have 2 bags of dog food, and then one that we're using to feed him, and then one in storage. And then once one gets empty, we move one up, and then I go buy another one to fill up the backup.
Yeah, and another thing is if you don't have enough storage room for all the water and the food, get the food, store all that, and then get a water filter. If you have a source of water nearby that's not drinkable, then you can filter it out and boil it or whatever, and you'll still have water in a bad situation.
Yeah, yeah. That, and then that starts getting you into the longer term stuff, where that stuff like that and generators and stuff. Which when you get over a week, that's when that stuff starts really coming into play. But we're gonna kind of stay within a weekish, where um, the stuff in your fridge after a week is gonna probably be spoiled, and then your freezer, you've got maybe 2 days, and then that's gone.
Yeah, and that's if you're not opening it.
Yeah. So I don't have a generator. I still waffle on what kind to get, if I'm going to get one, because I haven't gone more than like 12 hours without power.
Yeah, it depends on where you live.
And so um, we're set up with a hookup outside for a generator. The previous owners put one in.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and I just, you know, can't decide how big, what to get. My wife, would like to power the whole house, but that's not necessary. I just want to power the fridge and the freezer. Um, that way we've got those food stores, and then, But that's kind of more long term-ish stuff.
Do you own a barbecue?
I do. I have a little camp stove um, that
Does it
it's
take
in.
propane?
It's kind of right above the all black tub. It's wedged in there. It's a dual source, so it'll do propane or the other one.
Okay, I'd tell you to look into a propane generator then, because if you get a gas one, then you get a bunch of gas cans. Gas will go bad. Propane doesn't.
Yeah, I that's one I considered was one of the multiple source ones where you could run it off because we've got
That's
gas
a
to
good
the
idea.
house.
The
So I
tri-fuel ones.
thought about having it plumbed to the outside where you could hook up. But again, that's weighing what makes most sense. What do I need? What do I want to spend on? I don't know. I just um, kind of paralysis by analysis. Um, but so kind of the main point was, you know, be ready for a few days. Have a little bit, and that's all you need is a little bit extra. Um, that way you're not out panicking like we saw, you know, with the empty shelves and nobody knowing what to do because a lot of people don't think past, you know, today. Don't think past the end of their nose. Um,
Oh,
I don't
gun
know.
websites makes a really good point. Powdered water is a lot easier to store.
Yeah, but it's just hard to get it wet.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I That was kind of the more main point. It's just trying to get people to think about that. It's You don't think about it when things are good because you don't have to think about it. But
It's like
you
having a
want to.
fire extinguisher.
It is. I've got one right there, right on the wall.
Yep. You don't
It's
need it
right
till you
there
do.
because I bought one that was too big for the pantry, so I put one out here. Um,
That's another
and
point. Check your fire extinguisher levels. Make sure they're still good.
yes, and make sure you've got the right kind.
Yep.
A nice ABC one that covers everything.
But yeah, basically, um, it sucks to spend money, but theoretically, the government just gave us all money. And if you buy stuff that's good for 25 years, it's not ever going to be cheaper than it is now. Stuff's just going up.
Yeah. So, hopefully it gave, people something to think about. Uh, and if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. It's America.
Just
Do
don't
what you
call
want.
us when you run out of food. Help.
But so I think we'll end it there. And I appreciate everybody that showed up at this god awful hour. DJ and G Webs, gun websites. Um, Guns and Barbecue is probably asleep by now. He was in here earlier. And X Adam, hopefully he hasn't driven off the road. He was driving somewhere or making $20. I don't know. Doing something about the rest up. And then anyone that listens later, if you have suggestions on anything or comments on anything we talked about, leave a comment. Um, 'Cause, you know, it's not just stuff that I see, but it's stuff that other people see. Um, so hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, let us know what you think.
And if you
And
work for Washington State law enforcement, let us know if you can see the guns we own. I'm curious.
so with that, everybody have a good night, and Stay safe.
Adios.